we're ready to start looking at ways that we can prove that two triangles are congruent. There are several rules that we can use for this. The first one is called side, 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 or SSS. That just says if you have two triangles that have all three sides matching. So if I try to make another triangle using these same three sides, the only triangle I can possibly make is this one that you see on the left. There's no other way to put these three pieces together. It will always give you that triangle. So any two triangles you make with those three sides will always be congruent. So side, side, side. If all sides are congruent, the triangles are congruent. And the congruent statement is triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF, if you look at this diagram here. Next one is side, angle, side. So this is if you set an angle and the sides on either side of it. So side 1 and side 2. Those are set, and the angle between them. If you set that, there's only one possible way that you can make the triangle. And that, if you look at this particular setup, the only way is to take this green piece and put it in. So no matter who's making the triangle, they're always going to come up with this triangle or one congruent to it. So side, angle, side, SAS. If you have two corresponding sides that are congruent and the angle between them, then you can say that the triangles are congruent. So in this case, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle RSQ. Our next rule is called angle, side, angle. So here we have an angle that's set, another angle that's set, and the side in between it is set. If we're not allowed to change any of those three things, there's only one possible way to make the triangle, and that's by putting in these two legs. Because if you extend out this side and you extend out this side, they're always going to cross in the same place, and so you'll always get congruent triangles. So to summarize, angle, side, angle, ASA. You've probably caught on that A always stands for angle and S always stands for side. If you have two angles that are congruent and the side in between them is also congruent, then you can say the triangles are congruent. So triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF in this picture. Next up is angle, angle, side, or AAS. So if you set an angle and another angle, and then a side of the triangle that's not between the two angles, there's still only one way you can make the triangle. So if I extend this out, but it's got to match up with that angle, and then I have to draw a line down here, the only way I can make it work is by putting these two pieces in. And so anyone making this triangle is going to make this exact same triangle. All of the triangles will be congruent. So if you have two angles that are congruent, two corresponding angles, and the side that's not between them, you can say that the triangles are congruent. In this case, triangle AYZ is congruent to triangle DBC. So between this one and the last one, we can say if we have any two angles and any one side, because the side can be between them for ASA or not between them for AAS, either way, we can say that the triangles are congruent. And if we have two sides and an angle between, we can say it, or all three sides. There's one way that doesn't work. We can't say side, side, angle. We can't set a side and another side and then an angle not between them. And the reason for that is this side here can swing back and forth and adopt different positions. And there's actually two different positions that this can take that will make a perfectly valid triangle. Using the same purple side, here and here, that's set. This angle is the same. And this green piece is the same. But we get two completely different triangles that are not congruent. So SSA, side-side angle, is not a valid proof of congruence, except if you have a right triangle. If you have a right triangle, so this is a right angle here, and you set the one leg of the triangle and the hypotenuse, if those are set, so you've got two sides and an angle not between, but that angle has to be a 90-degree angle, then it works. This thing can still swing back and forth, but there's only going to be, because this has to go straight up, there's only going to be one position for that hypotenuse, and you're always going to get this triangle. So HL, which stands for hypotenuse leg, is actually valid. If you have a right triangle and you have the hypotenuses match between the two triangles and one of the legs match, then the triangles will be congruent. So triangle OBW is congruent to triangle AMN.